Hey everyone, it's me, Andy,
I'm Sean.
and this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Calamax's 11.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew right here on YouTube. You know what to do if you want to help us out. Subscribe, comment. That stuff is all super, super, super helpful. And if you want to get involved directly and help donate, you can go to patreon.com/commandersbrew. And it really does help us be able to continue to make the show. We simply wouldn't be able to have existed for this long without it. So thank you so much to all of our patrons. You can get over there and jump in our Discord if you become a patron and help us brew the decks that we're making and contact us directly as we're doing it. It's a lot of fun. Check it out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. Okay, we're going to get into today's deck now. Sean, we have a very fun theme, a very fun deck this week.
This week's deck is Calamax's 11. So, Calamax the Stormsire from Commander 2020. 1 green, blue, red. So, it's a teamer commander, costs 4. It's a 4/4. It's a legendary elemental dinosaur. Whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, if Calamax the Stormsire is tapped, copy the spell. You may choose new targets. And whenever you copy an instant, put a +1/+1 counter on Calamax. So just from a technical point of view, you can attack with Calamax and then cast an instant before blockers or after blockers to copy it, get that +1/+1. And this works for the first spell of each turn. So if you're able to, you can cast a new instant on every player's turn before you untap and get a copy on every one of those turns. So that's the technical thing. But style-wise, Calamax is a cool dude who's going to assemble a crack team of creatures to pull off a Las Vegas heist greater than any has ever seen. This is Calamax's 11, and also primed for a couple of sequels by adding 1 creature every time, turning into Calamax's 12 or Calamax's 13.
And then
That's
doing
the theme.
and then reducing it to 8.
Yes.
And it's only women. Great.
Yes. That's sort of the premise. So we're going to attack. We're going to cast instants on the turns. We're going to double them up. And then just to give you a quick little taste, some of the basic tools for the job, for the heist job, they're all copyable. They're all instants. They're all veggies. Start you off with Harrow, 2 and a green for an instant. As an additional cost, sacrifice a land. But once you've paid that cost, when you copy it, you don't need to pay that again. So then we're going to search your library for up to 2 basics, put them into play untapped, and then shuffle your library. So we're going to get 4 basics for the cost of 3 mana and getting rid of one of them. So we're going to get rid of the one we tapped, but we'll have 4 untapped mana. After that, that's going to help us cast spells on future turns to get more. Or maybe commence the end game. 4 blue, instant, can't be countered. Draw 2, then amass X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So, amassing just means create a zombie token and put as many +1/+1s as there are amasses, which basically there's not a ton of amass in the deck. So I think this might be the only one. You would end up with if you have 6 cards in your hand after you draw 2, you get a 6/6 zombie army token.
And if you
you would copy it. So
yeah.
So the way it would work is you each would resolve in a row. So you would draw 2 and create a zombie army, and then draw 2 more and then create an even bigger zombie army. But you can't make a second zombie army. All the counters have to go on the same one. So you'll just get one gigantic zombie army token.
There's been a few times when I've been playing on Arena or something where I forget that.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, this thing amasses 1, so does this thing, so does this thing. It's like, oh wait, it just puts counters on after you have that first one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so shall we get into some of the neat moves?
Working on a
Neat
moves.
Andy, sometimes attacking isn't safe, so what do we got to protect from that?
well, we want to keep our Calamax tapped, so that way when we cast those instants, they do get copied. So Cultivator's Caravan is a great one, and a Shantabear's favorite, as we all know. 3 colorless for the vehicle. It's 5/5. Of course, it's an artifact. You tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and you crew it for 3. which, it's been a while since we had the vehicle mechanic, but what it means is that you can tap any number of creatures you control with power 3 or more. And then the vehicle turns into an artifact creature until the end of turn. But you can crew it for more, just so that, just again, in case we're talking to anybody who, is not super up on the vehicle way that works, because it doesn't come up all that often, to be honest. But
you're also allowed to crew it if it's already been crewed. You can
exactly
recrew it
and keep crewing it. So keep that's going to be one way we can tap down Kalamax. Smuggler's Copter is another vehicle that's going to help us do that. 2 mana for the 3/3 flying. When it attacks or blocks, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. The crew is only 1 on this one. And we also have oh wait, is this it? Yes,
yeah.
Honor Worn Shaku. 3 generic again for an artifact that says tap. Add 1 generic to your mana pool, but also says tap an untapped legendary permanent you control to untap Honor Worn Shaku. This is easily the best mana rock, I think, to accompany a creature, a commander that you want tapped or that you want to untap. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but this is like a Worn Power Stone that does not come into play tapped in that case if you already have your commander out.
Yeah. Tapping your commander does not require, it doesn't have to, it can be summoning sick. You're allowed to get it tapped that way.
Exactly, because it's the cost.
Yeah. Great. So these are some of the ways we're going to get Calamax tapped. These are some of the ways we're going to kind of go through. Smuggler's Copter is especially good to throw cards away into the graveyard to kind of do that looting. But before we get you to the team, how do we get the team? How does Calamax or George Clooney assemble the 11? So mainly through Mass Polymorph, 5 and a blue, sorcery, exile all creatures you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal that many creatures, put them all into the battlefield, and shuffle the rest into your library. Similar to this, Synthetic Destiny, 4 blue. This one's an instant. Exile all creatures you control. At the beginning of the next end step, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal that many creatures, blah, 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 same business. The timing's a little bit different, and we have to make sure we've at least cast another spell before this if Calamax is tapped, because the Calamax copying is not a May. We do not want to copy Synthetic Destiny if possible. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, because they don't come back right away, we can copy it, because the second instance will exile 0 creatures.
Yeah, it doesn't even do anything, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so actually that's fine. Never mind. It works. It works perfectly.
Great. Perfect.
That's how we're going to assemble the team. But you might be thinking, wait a minute, we can't sack the 11 to get the 11. That doesn't make sense. How do we get them? Decoys.
We want to get some tokens, and then we want to turn them into our 11. Starting with Cobra Trap. 4 green for an instant trap. Does this count as a different type when it's in the graveyard? No,
it's a subtype.
It's a subtype. It's like arcane, I guess, right?
It's like arcane, or creature types don't count as being different.
Yeah,
they're all creatures.
This is an instant type, which I guess is just rare. You just don't see that too often.
Yeah.
That's why it seemed weird to me. Anyways, Cobra Trap, 6 mana. It's an instant, it's a trap. If a non-creature permanent under your control was destroyed this turn by a spell or ability an opponent controlled, you may pay a single green rather than pay the mana cost. Put 4 1/1 green snake creature tokens onto the battlefield. I love this because it works doubly well with Kalamax being an instant and all that. Obviously is very nice. And even, I guess, in a pinch, you're paying 6 mana and perhaps getting it copied is not that bad. You get 8 1/1s. 6 mana for that's not that bad.
Yeah, I'm going to hold this up and hope that someone wants to destroy something. That happens a lot. And if I can pop this off for green, amazing. But if I've got nothing better to do, I'll pay the full 6 to get 8 snakes.
Yeah. And to keep in mind, it must be destroyed by a spell or an ability an opponent controlled. You can't sacrifice it or something.
Right.
Next, we have Artifact Mutation. I've seen these in my rare binder recently. There's 2 of them. There's a green-white one and there's a red-green one. And both times I'm like, hey, these are really good in token decks. So it's time to start using them. Artifact Mutations, green-red for an instant that says destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated. Create X 1/1 green saproling creature tokens where X is that artifact's converted mana cost. Against an it doesn't even have to be against an artifact deck. You're always going to find an artifact to kill with something like this, and you're probably going to find a pretty good one. Finding one
We
between
get two.
Exactly. So and finding an artifact or two between 4 and 6 mana, like at least there's even ones that some that are larger than that, but that's not that hard. Even from 3 to like 5, you're going to be able to find something and hit it, and that's pretty good rate. 2 mana instant. They lose a permanent, you gain 5 of them, or whatever the number is. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. For 2 mana, I'm happy to take away 2 signets and get 4 Saberlings. That's fine.
Absolutely. And for the record, the green-white one does the same thing but with enchantments. Predator's Howl is the last one here, where it's 3 and a green. It's an instant. Put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield. It has Morbid. Put 3 2/2 green wolf creature tokens on the battlefield instead if a creature died. So if you hit this up with Kalamax, a creature has died. You're putting 6 2/2 wolf tokens out for 4 mana. Not at instant speed. Not bad.
Right. So, I mean, this deck, it can get pretty explosive with the tokens. Like, we're running things like Beastmaster, Ascension. So, like, sometimes you feel like, oh, I've got more than 7 tokens. I'll just attack and swing at you for, like, 50 or so. That is definitely, like, the uninteresting prequel to the movie Calamax 11 that sometimes happens. But once we get to 11... Well, 10, because Kalamax, unfortunately, will give up their own existence for this to happen.
Oh, wow.
That's just the way these polymorph spells work. You got to exile everybody. You can't save Kalamax. But let's talk about the 11. These are what puts butts in seats at the movie theater. These are the Hollywood elite.
I just want to have you... So okay, never mind. My question has been answered. I was going to be like, have you gone through and assigned, like, who's the Brad Pitt? Who's the
sort
Scott Conn? Is that his name?
Well, I fudged it a little bit.
Okay, all right. Okay,
but generally speaking, let's talk about our first agent, our haste specialist. Ooh. This is Ogre Battle Driver, 2 red, Ogre Warrior, 3/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. All of these effects put all of the creatures out at the exact same time, so we get to stack these triggers however we want. So we'll make sure that Ogre Battle Driver gets down, and then every other creature is seen by that. So every other creature will get haste and +2/+0 from this. If it wasn't obvious, I don't know if I said this, there are only 11 other creatures in this deck. So we will hit these 11 if we polymorph these.
Right. So the 11 are, or I guess it's 10 plus Kalamax, you said, right?
No, there's 11 creatures beyond Kalamax.
I see. Okay, so there's 11. So they are the only creatures. So you 100% will hit them if you have enough things.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. And some of you may be thinking, like, I can think of situations where you won't hit them. Don't worry. We got you covered.
So would you say that this is the Carl Reiner of the group, or
no? This, I mean,
not.
I don't have all the names of them all, but like, so we have a haste specialist. We have one backup haste specialist in Cyclops of Eternal Fury, 4 red, 5/3 creatures you control have haste.
I know
that's what it does.
This is Scott Conn, Casey Affleck, right here. This is the 2 guys.
Well, I think there's a better pair.
Oh, there's a better
pair.
Sorry, I'm just excited about this part of it.
Sure.
I'm jumping ahead.
They won't all have clean analogs to the movie, but some of them do.
Well, listen,
Andy,
if there's 11 of them, we're gonna make it work.
Okay, Andy, who's up next?
Next. Let's see the notes here, because maybe you said who it is. No. Oh, okay. We got to have the lookout. You got to have your guy who's looking out, making sure that the cops aren't wise to anything and that people aren't coming. Well, this would be this is the dweeby guy who's running the surveillance, the hacker guy. Archetype of Endurance. 6 green, 6/5, enchantment creature, boar. Creatures you control have hexproof. See, he's doing the protection, making sure people are safe. Creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and can't have or gain hexproof, meaning that you are not only building your own defenses, you are lessening theirs. You are that guy, and his name is, I can't find it. I'll find it when Sean's talking.
Okay.
He's the guy who's at the hotel room, making sure everyone's safe, letting them know who's around the corner, and he is hurting the defenses of the casino because he's telling them false information. He's telling them the wrong things. When someone calls, they try to call 911. When Carl Reiner's faking the heart attack, Guess what? They called the archetype of endurance.
Yeah, yeah. We got to have some muscle. I think this is probably a good Scott Conn,
Okay.
Casey Affleck.
Okay.
We got Chancellor of the Forge, 4 red, red, red for a 5/5 giant. As a bonus, you may reveal this card from your opening hand at the beginning of the first upkeep if you have it. And if you do, you start the game with a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste. That's great for tokens, but hopefully that's not going to happen. We're going to make this part of the 11. So when Chancellor of the Forge enters the battlefield, put X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens with haste onto the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures you control. We're going to trigger this one late in the game so it sees all of the creatures. The 11 plus any tokens that also the cousin of this one, Deep Forest Hermit, brought with it. 3 green green for an elf druid. When Deep Forest Hermit enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, and squirrels you control get +1/+1. It also has Vanishing 3, so at the beginning of your upkeep, you're going to remove a Vanishing counter, but we're hoping to win the game. That shouldn't matter.
Right.
Casey Affleck has a more famous brother, Ben Affleck. Same Chancellor of the Forge has a bigger token maker in Avenger of Zendikar.
Oh.
So you're probably going to run that one if you have the budget for it, but Chancellor of the Forge does just fine as the budget version.
See, I think it's the other way around here. Now hear me out.
Okay.
So I think that Chancellor of the Forge is Scott Conn.
Okay.
Because his father, James Conn, much more like different type of actor, came before him, much bigger. Deep Forest Hermit has, what's the other one? What's the old one?
Hermit Druid?
Yeah, no, isn't that it? Maybe, yeah. Anyways, the other one that does this, that the modern Horizons version is ripping off. Like, there's very similar, like Casey and Ben Affleck.
Deranged Hermit.
Deranged Hermit is Ben Affleck. Deep Forest Hermit is Casey Affleck.
Sure, that's fine. So just to recap,
cast your votes in the comments and let us know.
To recap, we've put a bunch of tokens onto the battlefield. They all have hexproof, and we've given all of them +2/+0 and haste. So that's what's going on so far. Do you want to take the next roll?
Oh yeah, for sure. So now I talked about the tech guy, and I mean that was me because in the movie the lookout and the sort of tech guy are all the same person. But
I had to fudge it a little bit.
You got to fudge it a little bit. Okay, listen. Sure, in Ocean's 11 we had Eddie Jemison playing Livingston Dell, who played both of those parts. But currently we are going to split it up, and Siege Behemoth is our hacker. 5 green 7 for hexproof. I know this is one bulky beefy hacker, but as long as Siege Behemoth is attacking, for each creature you control you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked, meaning that it is getting into the system. We're getting in there. No firewalls, no walls of any type. It doesn't matter how many walls you have.
No,
we're getting in, we're sneaking in. And see, I would say this represents maybe the sneaky guy who is the guy's in the box, the little Asian guy.
Oh, he hides in the safe or whatever.
Yen is
the
his
acrobat
name in the movie. Yeah.
Sure.
The guy who's in the circus. Yeah.
Okay. We also have a Master of Disguise.
Okay, great.
In Vizier of Many Faces. 2 blue, Shapeshifter Cleric. You may have Vizier of Many Faces enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if it was embalmed. The token has no mana cost. It's white and it's a zombie, and you can embalm it for 3 blue. But so we have the option now of making the Vizier enter as any one of our team, or if for some reason someone on the battlefield has someone else who would be a useful addition to the team that maybe would pump up the team or do something useful, we can make the Vizier become that creature instead. So we got a little bit of flexibility, but all things being equal, I think we probably want to make them another Chancellor of the Forge to get even more tokens on the battlefield.
Nice. We've split this roll into 2. Let's put it right into 3, because we need a dedicated surveillance only person, and that's Andre's Forerunners. 5 green for the 7/7 boar, the Vigilance Trample Haste. When it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and trample until end turn. This is our impression of a Crater Hoof that we have found to be, honestly, pretty much just as good.
Yeah, if you have a Crater Hoof or the budget for one, sure, throw that one in.
But Enraged Foreigners does a very nice impression, and if you have enough creatures, it just is the same thing. This is like I said, this is just does a great impression of that, and it just ends the games.
So this pair coming up is where we get a little wild here. This is a wild pair, not the card wild pair.
Right.
But so think of it this way: Grozoth is on the team.
Okay.
6 blue, defender 9/9. Being defender sucks, but hear me out. When Grozoth comes into play or enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards that have converted mana cost 9. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and if you do, shuffle your library. You can pay 4 to have Grozoth lose defender until end of turn. So if we've got the mana to do it, we can also add Grozoth to the attacking team. You can also transmute Grozoth for 1 blue by discarding Grozoth, and then when you do, you search for any card with converted mana cost 9, because that's Grozoth's converted mana cost. So keep that in mind while we team up with Green Warden of Murasa. 4 green. It's an elemental 5/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. And when Green Warden dies, you may exile it, and if you do, you also get to return a card from your graveyard to your hand. The reason I want you to think about Grozoth is Grozoth searches your library for something that costs 9. If that thing we want to search for ended up in the graveyard, Green Warden can get it out of the graveyard. So as long as it's not in exile, if it's in their library or if it's in the graveyard, we will get to have Blasphemous Act in our hand, which is a 9 mana sorcery that, as we all know, does 13 damage to each creature but costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. So we will surely be able to cast it for a single red if we have 1 mana left over. Again, as long as it's not exiled, those two together will put this in our hand some way. And it all rolls in with the most famous Ocean's 11, who has got to be Brad Pitt. Andy, take it away.
It's Vigor. 3 green for the Elemental Incarnation. It's a 6/6 with Trample. If damage would be dealt to another creature you control, prevent that damage, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. When Vigor is put into a graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle it into its owner's library. So yeah, you get a big team out there, and you have your Vigor out, and then guess what? Blasphemous Act not only destroys your opponent's board, probably 99% of their creatures, but it also massively pumps your team. Kills your Vigor, but your Vigor does go back into the graveyard to possibly. I mean, I don't think you need it anymore after that, anyways.
No.
You should probably win at this point. But yeah, your team gets pumped. 13 damage is dealt, and instead it gets turned into 13 counters.
I mean, also, like, Vigor is not legendary, so if Vizier of Many Faces also becomes a Vigor, they'll each protect each other, and they'll still be around to get double. Each one will put 26 +1/+1 encounters on all of your other creatures, who now have hexproof, who have trample and vigilance from Endrade's Forerunners, who have haste from our haste specialists, who also have been pumped up by +2/+0 if that matters as well.
So all you need in this deck is to get 1 mass polymorph out if you have 11 tokens. Is that right?
However, what if we draw these creatures early? Because while we're playing, we're drawing cards. What if we draw our Vigor early?
Yes.
I mean, this is like Vigor is a great example, because with Smuggler's Copter, for example, we can just pitch Vigor and it gets shuffled back in automatically. Vigor doesn't live in the graveyard, so that's easy. But these other ones could. We have a little bit of redundancy, so maybe you can do the math in your head and realize, I don't need all of these, but we want all of them. So we've definitely put in a bunch of stuff to help with that. To just get them out of our hand. They're no good in our hand. So we're running cards like Frantic Search, which is an instant, 2 and a blue. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, untap up to 3 lands. We're going to double that with Kalamax. So we're really going to draw 4, discard 4. So we can for sure dump anything that goes through our hand into the graveyard. We're also running Faithless Looting, a single red for a sorcery to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. It has flashback, another way to discard cards, creatures we don't want. And then, Andy, take us away with what we're going to do with that graveyard.
Well, you may be thinking, what good is throwing them in the graveyard going to do if we need to try and mass polymorph them out of our deck? Well, that's where you get something like Repopulate for 1 and a green. As it's an instant, shuffle all creature cards from target player's graveyard into that player's library. Now, it has cycling too as well. But I love this because it doesn't lose value from the copying. Because if you target yourself, which you are going to want to do, you also get to target someone else and clear their possible reanimator deck of all their creature cards in their graveyard, which is great. It's a nice little
Repopulate anyway because like we have some redundancy in this, which Andy you'll get to in a second. But like I'm happy to fire off a Repopulate early to just clear a graveyard if my opponent's about to abuse it with creatures.
Totally. It being instant speed it makes it great for that. And we also have Felden's Cane, which is just a classic. 1 mana for the artifact. Tap, remove Felden's Cane from the game, also known as exile nowadays. You shuffle your graveyard into your library. You always get caught reading the card instead of the oracle. Yeah, so you just tap it, exile it, and shuffle your entire graveyard into your library.
So that's how we're going to make sure the 11 are in the deck. So as long as we got 11 tokens out, or 10 plus Kalamax.
Yeah. You're gonna hit that group of creatures. You're gonna hit End-Raze Forerunners. You're gonna hit Vizier. You're gonna hit Siege Behemoth.
Yeah, and Grozoth and Green Warden will find Blasphemous Act no matter where it ended up.
That's right. That's pretty cool.
if we had to Wrath early with the Blasphemous Act, no problem. Green Warden's going to get it later.
How long would you say it takes to get to not only 10 tokens? Let's not pretend it's just the 10 tokens, but we also need to get the polymorph, and we need to get enough mana to make it happen.
Sure. Getting the mana is easy because you just need to get to 6.
So we're just ramping like a normal deck, kind of. We, like you mentioned off the top, we've got like Harrow and stuff like that.
Yeah, like things like all of those instant tutors, like Crop Rotation, where it finds 1, but it'll find 2 for us. We're really leaning on those.
Great.
All the draw. If you want to up this deck on budget, obviously you can up these creatures. Craterhoof goes in. Adventure of Zendikar goes in. We can really up that. You want to probably put an Urabrask in as your haste enabler. Right. So there's easy upgrades there. I mean, throw in a couple of tutors, a couple instant sorcery tutors to get your mass polymorph spells. But there's also lots of draw. Like I mentioned, all those draw spells where you're drawing 2, discarding true. This deck Calamax helps us get a ton of velocity, so we'll find him. We'll find him before too long.
Very, very cool.
Very
cool.
My favorite surprise and discovery that I want to highlight is the perfect card for this deck. It's Sprout Swarm. 1 and a green, instant with Convoke. So you can tap creatures to pay for the casting of the spell. The color that the creature is counts towards like the green on it. So the rules work. You're allowed to tap Kalamax for the Convoke, and now Kalamax is tapped, so it will be copied. And you can buy it back for 3, and you make a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. So for 5 mana, we get 2 Saprolings with Kalamax tapped. But we're allowed to use those Saprolings because we've bought it back on another player's turn. And as long as we have 3 more mana, we can make 2 more Saprolings. So on a full turn cycle, as long as we've got enough creatures to keep buying this back, we can get 2 on our turn, 2 on the next player's turn, 2 on the next player's turn, 2 on the next player's turn. Then it's back to our turn. We made 8 Saprolings with Sprout Swarm plus Kalamax for 1. There's 9 creatures for your polymorph if you're ready to go. Do you want to take the risk on just missing 2? You can't miss the haste enablers, though. If you miss the haste enablers, it's pointless.
You say in that example, you're gonna only miss 2 of them. But what are the chances? You know what I mean?
That is if you're using mass polymorph. The other spell, which is instant. Well, I guess we wouldn't have been able to cast it on our opponent's end step because we're convoking Sprout Swarm.
Right. Well, anyways, very cool. Man, I love it.
And I couldn't have done this myself. I really want to thank the Discord helpers. We went in the tank on these 13 creatures, helping us brainstorm them, helping us find cheaper versions that that were like, obviously Avenger Zendikar comes to mind first, but Chancellor of Forge is almost better in this deck for it, and it's cheaper. So just to name a few, I hope I got everyone. Clockwork 12, Seth, or first group brew with us. Thanks for Seth. Neomaxis, Brave Sir Robin, Chiefy, Kydron, Doomfang, Sean, not me, another Sean, Papadio, Max Volume, Codester, and Lolwhat, who went every now and then, like one of the Discord helpers will have like a vision, and like Lolwhat has a whole other deck that's based on Kalamax through their suggestions, with a lot of storming off and untapping lands and recasting spells. So like that is a different deck, but also very cool. So if you are in our Discord, I'd just look through the Sean's latest deck list to see Lolwhat's contributions.
Oh yeah, I did that for the one I just brewed too. We'll talk about that in a different episode. Yeah. Great. Well, we've talked about the helpers. We've talked about our surprise discoveries. It's time for the budget report. This
is where we take all of the cards and we see which one of them are deserving of a sequel. And by sequel, we mean adding one to them, and that counts.
Yes, it does. What would be the one creature you'd add for the sequel, you think?
Julia Roberts.
Yes, good. Well, she's in the original, but yes, okay. Perfect. Julia Roberts, the magic card.
Yeah.
Where did this one come in at? Are we going to break the bank? Am I going to spend too much money making this?
If you go to TCGplayer, click our link in the show notes if you want to go look at this deck or other cards. You can get this on the low for $40, $40.71. That's the low price.
You just mean secretly, right? You're like on the low, you can get
this
for $40.
No. If you buy like the slightly played versions and the you don't care about like pristine conditions and white border versions, if that's available, the market value, if you want to get new cards, $75,
not bad,
which is still not bad. And it's kind of like we can probably even shave a bit more off of that. The most expensive card in the deck is Awakening Zone.
Wow.
2 and a green for the enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you make a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn token. You can sack it for a colorless. This is one of the best just token generators. It automatically gives you a token creature every turn. We're hoping not to spend it for mana, but if we'll get to our 11 very easily with Awakening Zone out of here. And that's like $7.
$7, and close to that is the number 2 card, which is Blasphemous Act, which you talked about how important this one was. So this is the one you might want to spring for if you don't already own one or a couple of these. They pretty regularly get reprinted though. So
we're due. They printed them in Commander 2014, 2016, 2018. They skipped 2020, so I suspect they'll be back in 2021.
Yeah. So sometimes you can find them in stores and stuff too, where people are still selling them for like kind of a lower price. I've seen that once or twice. So yeah, check it out. I mean, $650. It's a pretty key card to the deck though, so this one you can kind of spring for.
And the deck is a bit of a combo deck, so I included Dig Through Time. It's the 6 blue instant with Delve, and you get to look at the top 7 cards and put 2 into your hand. If you get to copy this off of Calamax, it's a very strong spell. You get to dig 14 deep and to pick 4 of them. We'll probably find whatever combo pieces we want. The rest go on the bottom, so we're going to avoid all the creatures of the 11. But unfortunately, it's almost $6. I think Pioneer has made it climb up a lot. Because it's legal in Pioneer. It's a very good card. We're also looting a bunch, so we can usually cast it for blue. It's a great card, but it's $6, just under 5.5. I think you could cut it if you wanted to.
Yeah. Let's talk about favorite cards. One of the token makers that I like a lot, just in general, is also just another way to win the game, oddly enough. It's Metallurgic Summonings. Really, really like this one. This is just in that the way you're like creating the tokens. I love it. 3 blue for the enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And then you can pay 3 blue to exile Metallurgic Summonings and return all instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. And you can only activate this if you have 6 or more artifacts, so keep that in mind. But I love this because simply by casting your spells, you're creating like sometimes big tokens. Like we've Commence the Endgame is in this. Like that's a 6 mana spell that you're getting you're not only getting all the stuff like the zombie army you're also getting a 6/6 construct. Like, you can just win off of attacking with fat tokens.
It's true. And like this, if you can land this while you're developing, all of those cards that dig you through your deck to help find your combo pieces start creating tokens incidentally as well.
Yeah, definitely.
My fave card, I don't know if we've talked about this one in a very long time, but I'm going to talk about Bow of Nylea. 1 green for a legendary artifact. Attacking creatures you control have death touch. Already very good if we have a ton of 1/1s. Like, I'm happy to send my team of 1/1s in, even though they're just the decoys for the real 11, because what are you going to do, block them? And then you've got 4 different abilities by paying 1 and a green and tapping. You can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Fine. You can deal 2 damage to a target creature with flying. That's pretty good. Sometimes you need to do that. That's nice to have. You can gain 3 life. Again, don't plan on using it a lot, but the one that I love the most is you can put 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library in any order. So if I've got a few of our 11 in there, I'm like, you know what? Pop them back in. They're going back on the bottom. So like when I do polymorph, I'll hit them.
Up to 4. So that's
up to 4, yeah.
You don't have to pick 4, but like, yes, of course.
Sure.
Perfect. Love it. Well, wow. This is really, this is exciting. This is an exciting deck that I would like to see someone play.
It's so fun. Like, is it fragile as heck? Yes. If your opponent is like, hey, just, do me a favor, exile the top 5 cards of your library, you start sweating. Because you're like, if you get like my haste creatures, like this deck is, I mean, it doesn't do nothing though. Like, that's the thing. It's got a fairly robust token engine with Kalamax at the helm. So sometimes we don't need to do that plan. Like, we can just, if we get a Beastmaster Ascension, fine. Like, I'm just attacking with 5/5s or 7/7s the whole time anyway.
Like, you don't want to see us settle the wreckage playing this deck.
No.
You do not.
But I mean, but like, yeah, right. If we'll settle the wreckage, because we don't have hexproof, just our creatures have hexproof. Yeah, that would be a tough one.
You definitely don't want to see that. Or that Flash Angel that I end up really liking a lot in control decks.
Sure. Anything that says do something to all attacking creatures, that's bad.
But I love that stuff, though. I love that. That creates tension. That's what creates really fun games of Commander. I love that stuff.
Teferi's Protection doesn't work this deck.
Please don't play that card against this deck.
Yeah.
I love it though. This is really fun. It's an all or nothing. Yeah. And you know what? When you're at the casino trying to rob the Bellagio, you gotta go all in. All right. Yeah. Great. Well, that does it for this episode. Thanks everyone for listening. Really, really super fun deck this week. Remember to go and check out TCGplayer if you're in the United States, or I guess just anywhere outside of Canada, truly. And follow our affiliate link, which is located in the show notes of the audio show, as well as in below the video on YouTube. You can check it out there. And just click around in there. If you click through that link, you don't have to buy the cards specifically from this deck. You can go anywhere else on the website, and it'll still help support Commander's Brew. And also, again, if you're in Canada, check out Wizard Tower, and you can use our coupon code Brew Ikoria, and that'll help you get a little bit of a slice off on your singles. Thanks again for everyone for watching and listening. We love you all very much. Thanks for your support. Black Lives Matter. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.